The Volvo S90 R-Design. So the LED headlights with the Volvo S90 design you can also automatically get with the R-Design, otherwise you have to go for them optionally with the base trim levels. Then the R-Design front grille with this black dot design and also a stronger lower bumper. 4 meters 96 or 16'3" is the total length of the S90, and it's the same for the V90 for the estate version, where we also have a full review, of course, on Autogefühl. You can check that one out later then. Here with the R-Design you have those matte aluminum style side caps here for the side mirrors, and overall I think a very beautiful design. Here it is. What I meant, you know, with combining some round shapes, but then again with straight lines, and you see it's like a C holding that rear, and we see a resemblance to the SUV designs at Volvo also. So here we go with the engine or the engines. It starts with a D3 diesel, 150 horsepower, D4, 190 horsepower, or here the D5, 240 horsepower. Then with the Polestar tuning you get some more torque, some more horsepower, not too much of a difference, more for the conscience. And then petrol engines is T5, 254 horsepower, or T6, 320 horsepower. And the bigger engines are always combined with all-wheel drive all the time. And for the lower ones they start with just with the front-wheel drive. Also the door handles, it's always making good impressions. You get 10 speakers with the R-Design already, and here the optional Bose and Wilkins sound system, even more speakers, even greater surround. I can really recommend them, especially in the concert hall setting. Then you have a great surround sound, one of our favorite ones, alongside with the Burmester 3D surround in the Mercedes E-Class. And this one here is then the R-Design interior. You can see, for example, that the steering wheel has an R-Design logo. The seats, they have this very sporty form in general, so you have more side support, for example here also in the shoulder area. With the R-Design standard it comes with microfiber on the inside, which is better because you then do not sweat in summer times, and it's also not getting cold in winter times. So this one I think even more, 1,500 euros extra, you can save that money. Then let's get inside. And you have a normal low sedan seating position, but the seat form Volvo is using, they are in general very comfortable. Headroom wise it's getting really close with 1 meter 86 or 6'1". If you start the car then everything flashes like this. What do you think about them? And optionally you can also get a head-up display, then you have a projection, for example, of the allowed speed and the real speed directly in your line of sight. General cockpit overview, you can see another carbon fiber cover right there. And it's a really minimalistic design, all centered on this big infotainment system. 6.5 inch would be standard with the R-Design, or also other higher trim levels. It goes then here with the 9-inch screen, also with the crystal knob. An interesting thing with the sound system is I've set it to the concert hall, and this sounds so weird. If you have a radio then and have this echo sound, all radio voices sound pretty weird. And the thing is, you know, you can always change it around again here with Sound Experience. This is Gothenburg Concert Hall. Then you can scroll around it like this and also use it iPad alike. So, you know, that's working pretty well. See it right there. And reaction times are also really okay. The result of knee room here is, I would say, average to small. is still okay, of course, but sometimes we have such a result here when we have way smaller cars, so it's not the best package. Headroom-wise, it's really okay because the ceiling is raising again. Of course, it's limited as with every sedan, but wow, pretty long loading area for sure. Here we also have a replacement tire. We also have a 12-volt supply right there. So let's go with the driving part. Said earlier, we have the D5, the big diesel, big in horsepower region, but of course not in displacement and not in cylinders, because we all have the 2-liter and 4 cylinders. So this one here, acceleration wise to 100, it's not too far away from the T6, the most powerful petrol engine, which is at about 5.9 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. And this one here is 6.9. So 1 second slower to 100 than the biggest petrol. And that, of course, means we have plenty of power here. So a normal overtaking process, for example, if you go from 80 kilometers to 100 with a kickdown, I can show you that as soon as we can do that. So, blind spot monitor, by the way, with this red sign. So now 80 to 100. Plop. And 120. So you saw that went pretty fast as soon as the kickdown happened. But for the kickdown, or until the kickdown, the car did take some time. You can change that, however, a little bit when you go to the driving mode selector and go for dynamic. And when you're in the dynamic mode, the car does not need so much time to shift down. When I then push the throttle, you get a more immediate response. Also, I can use the shifting pedals to just manually shift down or third gear. Forced diesel is also not the worst sound when we push it a little bit. Why not? We also have the air suspension mounted in here, which is a little bit of a pity, because I would love to test the R-Design suspension, but they didn't have a test vehicle for that yet. The reason for that is the normal R-Design pack also then includes the R-Design suspension, which is the normal suspension, put a little bit lower. And the air suspension, as soon as you have that one, you have the very same air suspension as if you had no R-Design at all. But the reason for that air suspension in this vehicle is that the manufacturers tend to put every spec that is available into a test vehicle to show off the very, very best of the car. So with the Eco mode, the car rolls better, and also is very silent in here. When you're just having it at lower RPMs, you can roll, relax, set, for example, the adaptive cruise control. Maybe I can just go behind this car here. You can also check again in my left mirror now when some people think they can drive faster as it is loud, as it's happening quite often in Germany. There's a red symbol in the side mirror then. Now already with the ACC, by the way, you see here the lane is being kept actively with the steering wheel. See, counter steering a little bit again. Again, the system after a while says take your hands on the steering wheel again, because regulations are not that far. Here I'm not braking at all at the moment. So the car is doing that. Now the warning, Thomas, what the hell are you doing? Now also the car is accelerating on its own again, not doing anything at the moment. So it works pretty well, and from the technology wise, they would be able to go through with it all the way. It's actually not a problem. But again, regulations have to be in place for that. And of course, you are still responsible yet, but Volvo is one of the first manufacturers that said, if we're at the point where fully autonomous driving is possible, we also take the responsibility for accidents. And as soon as they really do that, I don't see anyone buying another autonomous vehicle if the other manufacturers do not say that. So that is basically coming, for sure. Actually pretty relaxing. I mean, it's meant to have the hands on the steering wheel, because you're still responsible, and at the same time you can relax more still if you know that the vehicle is doing something. Sound insulation wise also, I don't have to raise my voice at all. It's pretty silent in here. So a very relaxing ride. You also don't feel too much difference that the air suspension is just in the rear, because the front suspension is also very soft and comfortable, so that's not too much of a difference. I really like it just to slightly accelerate with the car, because everything goes pretty smooth and silent. And you also do not feel so much that it is a diesel. So with some vehicles, you know, oh, that's a really old diesel, you feel it, you hear it and feel. Here, if you wouldn't know at all, and also maybe if you leave the start up, oh, it's a nice SL vintage car, then you wouldn't really feel a difference immediately, you know, if it's really a diesel or a petrol engine. Oh, great. People throwing off their plastic bags from the window, well done. That also happens. So to put to 100 again, and the pilot assist again, it's working when the steering wheel is green, and now this now is working up to a speed of 130, and we're driving 100 at the moment. So then also the steering system here works. Just to show you now when I take the hands off. When I'm doing some lane changes, by the way, you see that, or maybe also feel that a little bit with me changing back again. Car is really soft in the suspension, and that means when you're doing a fast lane change, you also feel the car is tilting. Overall, for sure, a lovely vehicle, especially design-wise. I love Scandinavian design, and I think a lot of you share that too. Aggressive, but yet still elegant design, especially in the front. So most do agree to that. Also the side profile, well, rather conservative, but still appealing. The rear you have to get used to. That is, you know, more maybe aligned with the rest of the design, with the Estate, with the V90. But overall, I think a great design piece. Also from the interior styling, I like it very much. How to control everything electronic-wise, infotainment system, I think that is a little bit easier in other vehicles. You have to learn a lot of the functions there that you really get along. It's not the most intuitive systems, especially also with, you know, with the temperature control. Comfort-wise, they're really on top of the game. But that's also always been the case with Volvo. They just have to think about their animal skin policy, which they are actually doing. You know, Thomas Ingenlath, the main designer of Volvo, chief designer, he said we have to think about a car interior beyond leather. That's what he said. Other than that, autonomous driving, for example, is already really evolved, and Volvo is going all the way with there. And also safety equipment. I like it that they include a lot of safety features from standard equipment. Other manufacturers should do it as well. And then optionally you can get almost everything you can think of. So Volvo is also taking a big part in this overall autonomous driving or assistance systems evolving process.